Over the last 9 years, we have seen United fall and try to get back to the top, honestly, too many times. And it feels like every single one has been a false dawn. We get a little bit of a kickstart, but we never really sort of maintain any sort of momentum and any sign of success. And we've had loads of different managers, loads of different styles of managers, different players, and we've always been left short in both results and quality on the pitch. We now find ourselves in a position where we have a squad of just complete mixed bag ability, completely assembled by literally like half a dozen different people, so much deadwood, different styles, different personalities, and that's got to change. And it won't be quick. You're talking a 2 or 3 year project to really turn it around and start it going in the right direction. And on top of that, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to see people, even some of the names that are on my list right now, probably won't be successful, even if we sign them. So even though we can say, look, we saw him playing for whoever, he looked great and it didn't work at United, that's going to happen. And there also might be some way you go, why have we signed him? And he ends up working. So it's not always predictable where transfers are going to go. It's not always predictable which academy players might pop up and be a success. We could be talking about United signing defensive midfielders here, and one could pop up through the academy. It's not impossible that sort of stuff happens. Particularly when you're talking like 3-4 years in advance, there could be players that find themselves propping up the squad in a big way. So the club seems to be appointing a lot more football people, and I'm genuinely excited by that. The structural backroom front office sort of change, I think, is the most significant change that we've seen at the football club since Sir Alex Ferguson resigned. And Richard Arnold, right now, he gets a pass based on this. Now, we have to see the results of this before we start praising him, but right now, I'm watching with intrigued eyes and I'm interested to see where it goes. The Glazers are going to continue to take dividends out. And United are going to have to build a squad pragmatically. I think we'll probably have a window or two where we go bananas because that's what we do. And that's what we've done. Hopefully that's supplemented with some sales. But I don't think United are going to be replicating the Woodward era sort of spending on the whole. I think it's going to be a lot more sensible. I hope it's going to be a little bit more mid-range, and hopefully it's going to be a lot more scouted. So United need to try and get bargains in. Last few weeks I've spoke about some of the free transfers and some championship level players that could come in and do bits for United. Some people that could come and develop at Manchester United. We're going to have to talk about giving power to footballing people. We will have the odd big money signing, but most importantly, we're going to have to trust and be patient with these football people. So how can we do this? What would a squad look like? So if I was to sort of project forward, what does a Manchester United squad look like? Let's start at the back. Let's go with the 11 to start with. So how can we do this? What would a squad look like? So if I was to sort of project forward, what does a Manchester United squad look like? Let's start at the back. Let's go with the 11 to start with. I think it probably will be De Gea in net, but I think at the time, 2-3 years down the line, we'll be looking at how do we now replace him. So I think you've got De Gea in net, but I think hopefully you've sorted out all the rest of the positions. You go, okay, now's the time that we upgrade our goalkeeper. The back four, I think you'd be looking at Malacia at left back, Djed Spence at right back. I think you probably could still have Varane. And alongside him, I'd like Timber, but you might also see Inacio. Or you might, instead of, see Inacio if we don't manage to get Timber over the line. In midfield, I think someone like Enzo Fernandez, alongside Frenkie de Jong, with Bruno ahead of them, would be a very, very strong midfield. And if you could keep hold of and develop Van der Beek, you've got Hannibal. And maybe you could even get in one of those free transfer number 6s. What about like a Kante? Even in 2-3 years' time, I think he'll still have enough value. Like, he will be what we've just had from Matic for the last few years. Useful in certain games. Great character to have around the dressing room. But realistically, not starting every single game for us. His injuries seem to be taking a little bit of a toll on him. But it does seem like something like that could happen. In the forward line, I think you've got options in the forward line. I would expect Garnacho to be part of it. I would expect Sancho to be part of it. I would expect Marcus to be part of it if he can fix the next 6 months coming out into the new season. And then I think you'll probably have a Diaby or potentially a Rafinha if Leeds go down as your extra sort of depth going on in there, and between them all fighting to start. Up front, I would love it to be something like Nunez and Scamacca, and I think you'd probably spend big on Nunez, and the other big signing here would probably be Jong. And then someone like Scamacca's a reasonable price and different to what you're getting out of Nunez. And I think as that was your sort of base, 15, 16 players of your first team squad, I think you're looking at a capable first team squad. But let's go into each player individually and why. United are in a bit of a predicament, really, in the goalkeeping situation. They got the highest paid goalkeeper in the league, and currently, although there's talk of him going elsewhere and Newcastle being one of those, you've got Dean Henderson, who's the 7th highest paid player in the league, goalkeeper in the league, which is ridiculous, and that just shows you the Woodward era's way of doing things that needs to change and needs to be fixed. The club is going to free up money from a lot of the players leaving this summer, potentially including Dean Henderson. And I just think because of the contract situation that De Gea's under, you could definitely upgrade him. The world-class shot-stopping ability has waned in a massive way the last 2-3 months. He's actually the second worst goalkeeper when it comes to save percentage since March, behind only Mendy, who's completely fell off a cliff. But the other aspects of his game can absolutely be improved even when he's in form. And I think United will eventually want to replace him. But I think there's such glaring holes elsewhere that even though I can envisage De Gea being a problem and his contract being a problem, I don't think they're going to fix that within the first 2 or 3 years of Ten Hag being here. I'd be quite surprised if they did. So I expect De Gea to be here, but I expect that's quickly every single transfer window moving up the priority list in terms of getting sorted. Fullbacks is another area in absolute desperation for improvement, and we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the fine-old left-back, Tyrell Malacia, and he's had a mega season, been part of a side that's only conceded 29 goals domestically, really quick, good on the ball, really experienced for a 22-year-old, 170 appearances to his name for club and even country. I think he's got really good traits defensively and offensively, and shouldn't really cost more than 20 million, which means that's a pragmatic, sensible signing that improves the team. The other fullback, you might see Williams, you might see Laird, you might see somebody else. I don't think Dalot and Wan-Bissaka are up to it, but are they currently in a better position than both Laird and Brandon Williams? I think that's up for debate. I don't think what is up for debate, though, is the ceiling of Djed Spence. I think he probably ends up in the Premier League, and I think he probably ends up quite high in the Premier League, and I think he could end up at Manchester United. And I think we would be a better team for it. He's comfortable in possession. He's a threat in the final third. He's got excellent recovery speed. He knows how to link play really well, and he's got good delivery and decision-making. He's got all of those things. He also has 8 goal contributions this season. Pretty important trait for a Ten Hag player. He made the Championship team of the season. Absolute clear upgrade on Wan-Bissaka, and again should cost somewhere in the region of 20 million, which is, you could have upgraded both of our fullbacks for less than it cost us to get Wan-Bissaka in. So if you could then offload 2 of Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Telles or Shaw, frees up a lot of money for new wages, refreshes the squad, refreshes the mindset, and has blank pages coming into the team ready for Ten Hag to download his philosophy into. Centre half. What an absolute car crash of a position this is at United. Club captain Harry Maguire shouldn't be starting for Manchester United next season. And if Varane stays fit, that won't happen if you sign another one. And you've got Gonzalo Inacio as one potential option. According to Daniel Oliveira, this man is better than Ruben Diaz, which is a hell of a shout, or at least he was when Ruben Diaz was 20. And he's a centre-back that reads the game really well. He's tall, he's big, and those two aspects probably put him a touch ahead of Timber. Timber's no slouch. Obviously, he's quicker. He reads the game fantastically. And he's certainly one that can definitely play that higher line and also has the benefit of having worked under Ten Hag previously. But I think either of those two alongside Varane, with the two fullbacks, young fullbacks they might be, but with the two young fullbacks either side of them, and you do have a defence that I think would compete and certainly has been upgraded. I think you probably keep Older Lindelof. I think he's got the versatility to be useful. And I think the four of them, the four starters with the likes of Maguire as a backup, just because I don't think you're getting to offload him. Lindelof as a backup, and then some of those young fullbacks, your Laird and your Williams, etc., kicking around as backup is good level of depth within the squad. In midfield, this will be a big money signing if we manage to pull it off. Frankie de Jong. De Jong's importance to what Ten Hag did when he was at Ajax definitely gives United fans at least a sense of the midfielder that he likes. And De Jong is all action. He can influence the game at both ends of the park. He's in constant movement, both in and out of possession. That's the sort of player that I think both Ralph and Ten Hag have suggested needs to be brought to the club. He's got a level of technicality that Fred and McTominay don't even understand. And he was a major player previously under Ten Hag. He knows the sort of game Ten Hag wants to play, which I think is very valuable. And buying that in helps with the buy-in from the rest of the squad. He probably playing that double pivot midfield. He's played the role that Gravenberch currently occupies, and was probably one of the first names on the team sheet, which led to his big money move to Barcelona. If United can pry him away to play under Ten Hag again, especially with the pressure seemingly from Barcelona to kick him out of the door, he would be a massive part of the puzzle. Alongside him, you could go with someone a bit more combative, like a Kante, and I think that could work really, really well, in all honesty. And I think if Kante is available extra cheap, because of the situation going on at Chelsea at the moment, Kante would be an absolute tap-in for me. It brings experience, not obviously someone long-term for the future, but I'm not sure if you lose out on Kamara, which it does sound like he's going to Atletico, so that's why I've not really spoken about Kamara, because otherwise he's perfect. But if you could bring in Kante, literally he is the Kante-style player, isn't he? And he would do bits. If you're not going to go with him, then having a Neves, who's more of a deep-line playmaker, but more in the Carrick mould, you don't necessarily need a destroyer every time. Someone like Carrick, we know, has worked well in this style of system. You could go with someone like an Enzo Fernandez. Plays like a deep-line playmaker, although he does get forward and arrive in the box and score goals. His passing range is absolutely sensational. He's got a real sense of distributing possession in between the lines to help his teammates. I think a really, really intelligent footballer. Loves a bit of one-touch, especially in the opposition half. Can be late with some of his challenges. Not always a bad thing, but he does have the ability to retain possession. Very low centre of gravity. Muscles players off the ball. And United don't usually venture outside of Europe with their signings, but South America does have some diamonds, and we know that they can be successful in the Premier League. We've seen it in recent years. So I think Enzo Fernandez could easily be someone that United could get without breaking the bank, and he could adapt and be absolutely vital to what we're trying to do. Left wing, I think he's stacked. You've got Marcus, you've got Sancho, who I think Sancho could revert back over to the right-hand side, in all honesty. You've got Garnacho breaking through. A lot of pressure in there. And players are going to have to step up. But the good thing is that pressure leads to performance, or it leads to you going out the door. And I got no issues with that whatsoever. The best players will play. And having that competition within the squad is only a positive thing as far as I'm concerned. The right wing, a little bit different. Now, I think Sancho might switch over and go back to where he played at Dortmund. But somebody like Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen, You know, and one of the latest in the pipeline of young stars that have been smashing it in the Bundesliga, having a great season, been overshadowed by Florian Wirtz, who does look ridiculous, but also Patrick Schick, who's just been smashing the goals in. But if anything, he's an equal part of this trio that have done really well. 17 goals, 14 assists in 42 games is an absolute piss take. Lightning quick, nickname is Speed Demon, for obvious reasons. Frightening acceleration. Doesn't have to rely on his speed. He's also pretty good feet and can dribble 1v1, and that's what you want. In terms of the strikers, I think Cristiano will have moved on by now, and wherever he's ended up playing, I don't know, but I think 2 to 3 years' time, we will have seen the back of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Nunez will come in. I've done a video talking about my fears and looking at the downside of him, just because everyone was looking at the positive sides. There's a lot of positives to be had, but let's be real and be honest with ourselves about some of the negatives that exist out there. He might be able to overcome them. It might look different in a different team, but I can only say what we see, and what I saw was a little bit underwhelming. I still think United are going to do this deal, though. And he does have 34 goals in 41 games. If he came into Old Trafford and replicated that, I don't think anyone's got a problem. He can also play on the left wing, or he can also mix it up where he sort of plays in the forward line. The physicality of him is off the charts, and I think he would be better than the nothing that we've got at the moment when Ronaldo's not around. Scamacca, we called him the new Zlatan. Not as many goals, 16 in 35. Total different physical profile, total different way of playing, holding the ball up. And just a total different sort of player. Not the same sort of raw power you'd expect out of an Erling Haaland or something like that, but potentially on the verge of reaching the next level. Which means that on top of all of that, you've got, like I said, you're going to have youth players come through that we just don't even know of at the moment. But you should have Ghana. At least have given an opportunity. You might still have Fred or McTominay kicking around. You might still have Maguire kicking around. You could see McNeil be someone that's found his way into the squad here. And what you've got is there a more complete looking squad where there's strength, there is depth, there is competition for places, and there isn't this mismatch and balance of, here's what I don't want. In 2 or 3 years' time, I don't want someone who's been there 2 or 3 years and played 4 games. We need that dead weight out of the squad. Everyone needs to be contributing and pulling in the same direction. We get that, a little bit of a sprinkling of quality, some good scouting, bring in some youth players that have earned their opportunity, and United will be in a better position. Is that good enough to challenge for the league? Probably isn't, to be honest with ourselves. But you've got to build a squad to compete first before you can go and win. And that's what we're doing. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.